How's it going, everyone? Good morning. Excellent. It is so good to be here in Brazil. This is my first time coming here to Sao Paulo. It's my first time in Brazil. So thank you so much in advance to all of you for your hospitality. And thank you to Ibermec for inviting me to join all of you here this morning at this great conference. So my name is Carlos Gil. I am joining all of you from Los Angeles, visiting from the United States. How many of you have been to the United States before? Several of you? Excellent. Well, make sure that next time you are back, you hit me up, and love to connect with you if you're in Los Angeles or provide you with any recommendations on things to do. So like the host that just announced me just stated, I'm going to talk to all of you here this morning for a little bit about social media trends. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about chatbots as well as the state of social media today. Before I get started, for those of you that are on social media, which I would imagine is a lot of you, be sure that you pull out your phones and you add me on Instagram as well as on Twitter at CarlosGil83. Make sure that we connect, and also tweet out anything that you learn from my presentation or from this conference. So those of you that are here, can share with the outside world what you learn here today. Now, a little bit about me before I get started. I've spent the last 10 years working in social media at a corporate level. I've worked for some really big brands in the United States where I've had an opportunity to not just start social media marketing for large brands like Winn-Dixie, which is one of the largest supermarket chains in the United States, but I've also had the good fortune opportunity to work for a social network itself in the form of LinkedIn. And after having worked in social media for the last 10 years and really study this space from the inside out, here's what I can tell you. Your brand today is digitally stranded in a giant ocean. And what I mean by this, ladies and gentlemen, is that today you have a lot of noise happening on social media. And by very quick show of hands, how many of you here manage social media for a company or for a brand or for your own business? Several of you. By a show of hands, how many of you are on social media yourselves? Almost all of you, if not all of you. So what I mean by brands today are digitally stranded in a giant ocean is it's become very hard for companies to stand out. Let's face it, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of you, there's a lot of people like me that are marketers, and we're all pushing out content on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Snapchat, and on Instagram. And how can you really stand out in this digital ocean? How do you stand out as a company like a Coca-Cola or a Nike or an Apple who's spending millions of dollars on Facebook ads? Well, the answer is content. The answer is community, and these are things I'm going to talk to you here about today. But it's also looking within each one of these social networks, because the reality is that social media networks are not created equally. What I mean by this is the way that you create content and engage with your audience on Facebook is very different than how you create content and engage with your community and your audience on a platform like, let's say, Instagram or Snapchat or YouTube. Now, in front of you, what you see is a breakdown of monthly users. And this report came out at the end of last year, so it's fairly recent, about 6 months ago. And you see this breakdown here, starting with Facebook. Facebook owns really the lion's share of social media daily active users. And then you see this breakdown from YouTube. You see the breakdown go down to Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook. You see Twitter, you see WhatsApp, Snapchat, Messenger, and then WeChat. And over the last, let's say, 2 years, I've gone all over the world, and I've done presentations on storytelling, I've done presentations on Snapchat, and coming here to Latin America last year, I spoke at about 8 different Latin American countries. I learned that a platform like Snapchat is not utilized the same way in Latin America as it is in the US. I've also learned that platforms like WhatsApp and Messenger and WeChat are really universally used. So as a marketer, you cannot have a strategy that just fits one size for all social networks. What I mean by that is you have to have what I refer to as an omni-channel strategy. So if you're going to be successful using social media and have your brand stand out in this giant digital ocean, as I call it, you need to have a strategy for how you use Facebook. You need to have a strategy for how you use Twitter. You need to have a strategy for how you use Instagram. Once again, you cannot have one strategy because the way people consume content on each one of these social networks is different. And each one of these social networks have a different algorithm as well. I'm going to share that with you here today. Now, before I ask you this question that you see on the screen, how many of you, by a show of hands, are on Facebook? Almost all of you. Who here in the room is not on Facebook? Only a couple of you. Okay. So with that being said, I'm very curious, after this, I'd like to hear from those couple of you that are not on Facebook why you're not. Because typically, when I do these presentations, at least in the US, all the hands go up. But anyways, we can talk about that afterward. So by show of hands, how many of you woke up this morning and the first thing that you did was go to your Facebook, grab your phone, and see what your favorite brand of all time posted? Who? Look around. Not a single person. Now, what's that say to you about the state of social media today? People, all of us, consumers, all of us, we're not going to social media to see what brands are posting. Correct? I see a lot of heads nodding because none of you raised your hands just now. However, we have companies, and I've worked for these brands that are spending millions, if not billions of dollars a year to crack the code of how to reach an audience, how to sell. Every brand out there wants to use social media to sell because let's face it, why are companies in business? They're to make money. They're to sell. And they think Facebook has 2 billion daily active users. We should go ahead and put content, and we should flood the market with all this content in order to go ahead and sell more. And what companies miss the mark on is that people don't want to hear your sales rhetoric. People are not going on social media to be sold to. They're going on social media for what purpose? To socialize. And I've been saying this since 2008 when I started professionally in the social media industry, that if you want to be successful using these networks, whether you're a billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company like Apple or Google, or whether you're a small business here in Sao Paulo, you have to use social media the same way that consumers are using them. I'm going to give you guys an example of a missed opportunity. I was at dinner last night at a restaurant here in town called Barbacoa. Are you guys familiar with it? And I logged on to the Wi-Fi because I'm here visiting from the United States. So I wanted to get on the Wi-Fi, check in, see what's going on at home. And they gave me the password to log on, and immediately I thought, that's a missed opportunity. Why didn't Barbacoa collect my email address? Why didn't they go ahead and ask me to connect with my Twitter or my Instagram or my Facebook account? Why didn't they follow up with me on these social networks? Instead, they just gave me the free access by just giving me a password. So again, where I'm going with this is, if you want to be successful, regardless in how you use social media, and I know we've got a combination here of students that are probably right now thinking, how do I use social media to find a job? So how can I use social media to brand myself better? We probably have small businesses here in the room that are asking themselves, how can we use social media to make local connections to get more people to come buy from us? And we probably in this room have large enterprise brands that are thinking, how can we get the most out of this in order to go ahead and transition marketing from where it's been traditionally from print, radio, outdoor, TV, over into digital, including social media. But once again, it starts with this poll and it starts with this statistic. Only 1% of your fans today on Facebook are seeing your content. Only 1%. This is your audience right now. So I meet with the largest brands that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, known as likes. And they say, Carlos, we're getting very low engagement. You know, there's some brands that I've worked with that have millions of likes on Facebook, but when they post, maybe they get 20 or 30 people liking their post content. And I would probably roll the dice and bet that those 20 or 30 people are employees at the organization, not really customers. That happens a lot. You'd be surprised. You know, I could tell you guys stories about this. You know, just working at the companies I've worked for, you have a campaign, and then you post this content out on Facebook, and then what do? You rush to your email, and you email everyone in the marketing department, except your CMO, and you say to them, hey, share this, comment, because you know what? We need to make our engagement look good. That's real talk. That happens at every single company. Now, what a lot of marketers fail to realize and capitalize on is that right now, Facebook is the best source for online advertising that exists. Again, you have access to over 2 billion people on the planet, and most of them have cell phones. Right here in Sao Paulo, I could run an ad right at this very moment targeting everyone within, let's say, a 5-mile radius. So if I own a small business right here, let's say I'm Barbacoa, and I want to get more people that like steak to come to my restaurant, what do? I can reach people within a radius of my restaurant. I can target people like myself that are visiting from out of town, that have gone to other steakhouses throughout the world, throughout the US. These are all things that you can do at the power of your hand. So the reason why Facebook is at this point limiting reach is because they're a business trying to get marketing dollars from your business. So I often hear from marketers that complain and they say, you know what? Mark Zuckerberg is making it hard for us to market. Facebook is making it hard for us to market. And the reality is no. Mark Zuckerberg is not making it hard for you to market. You just don't understand marketing. So with all due respect to anyone out there, I have this slide that says, don't be mad at Facebook that you suck at marketing, because the fact remains that your job in the year 2018 today is to truly understand how these social networks operate, truly understand the psychology behind what your customers want to see on social media. And the fact remains is that social media, I will tell you this directly, can be a complete waste of time and money and employee resources if you're not being strategic. Now, type of content that Facebook prefers. And the first is native video content. If you start looking through your news feed today, you start swiping through your phone, what type of content typically stands out? Video content. And why is that? Facebook is competing head-on with YouTube. Facebook essentially has become the new TV. You see this device right here? This is an iPhone. I spent a 12-hour flight from LA to come here to Sao Paulo. I wasn't watching the TV in front of me on American Airlines. I was watching my phone the majority of the time, connected to the Wi-Fi, watching content. You know, a lot of people talk about TV nowadays and they say, you know, the TV is going away, the TV's disappeared, everything's moving over to social and the digital. And the fact remains, the TV's not going away. It's just, what device today is the TV? At my home in Los Angeles, I don't have cable TV, I have internet TV. So the television that hangs on my wall in my living room is no different than the device I walk around with all day long, which is my iPhone. It's a device that projects video content. So you can look at Facebook as a social network where people are just going on to see what their friends are doing, to post their updates, or you can also look at it as a multimedia experience. So what does that mean for your company out there? Let me break this down for you. If you're a local restaurant, focus not so much on posting a photo of, hey, we had this steak on sale, come eat with us today, and focus more on actually showing the experience. What does it look like? You know, once again, last night I'm out having dinner, and I'm showing all my friends around the world on Instagram stories this amazing churrasqueria that I went to. And what am I showing them? The video of the steak being sliced. And everyone's commenting and saying, oh, wow, that looks amazing. Where is that? Restaurants can do that. Why do people have to do that? You have the power right at your fingertips with a cell phone. This right here, you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to hire a videographer to come to your business. You can use this right here. It takes great photos, great videos. But where I'm going with this is the first type of content that Facebook prefers is video, and specifically short-form video content. Big mistake that brands make is they treat Facebook like if it's YouTube, and they post these videos that are minutes long, over 10 minutes long. The average time that people are watching video content is between 16 seconds to 23 seconds. That's not a lot. And in fact, think of it as people are swiping up in the news feed. What are they doing? They're seeing very quickly the content that's standing out. So if your video content within the first few seconds isn't popping out at someone, guess what? They're not going to watch it. The next type of content that Facebook prefers is live video. So once again, think of your business. What is it that you do? Whether you're business to business, whether you're business to consumer, regardless, even if you are a student that's looking to go ahead and grow their personal brand, live video content can be used by anyone, but it's not being utilized enough. And the reason why this type of content is getting priority in the newsfeed is, again, when you think of what Facebook is becoming as a multimedia production platform, you with your cell phone can go on, you could do a live video of whatever it might be. And the Facebook algorithm will show preference to this content. The next is posts which ignite conversation. And what do I mean by this? if a post on Facebook has a lot of comments, Facebook now is going to share that post more within the newsfeed because they perceive that post to be important. So right before coming on stage and speaking to all of you, I put a post on my Facebook, and I said, I'm getting ready to go on stage and do a keynote in Sao Paulo. Wish me luck. Guess what people are doing? They're going on, they're commenting, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. So I guarantee you by the time I get off of this stage, I'm going to look at my phone, I'm going to see my notifications, and I'll probably have 100 people that wish me good luck. Brands can do the same thing, but they choose not to do it. And the reason why they choose not to do it is it goes back to what I said before. Brands view social networks as an opportunity to sell, not an opportunity to have conversations, not as an opportunity to build relationships, not as an opportunity to even listen, which I'll get to here in a moment, but because they're only thinking of one thing and one thing only, which is how can I go ahead and drive the sale, they're missing the greatest opportunity around. Now, posts with a lot of likes, comments, and shares is different than posts with a lot of conversation. This is engagement. So if you really want to understand how the Facebook algorithm works, you have to get a lot of engagement on your posts in order to ensure that Facebook is going to share your post in the newsfeed with people who like your page and also friends of people who like your page. So my recommendation to all of you that manage social media for a brand or even for yourselves, if you have a business page or a profile, is anytime someone goes to your account and they go on your posts and they click like or they click comment or they click share, if they click comment and they comment on your post, immediately like their comment and comment back. Say thank you. If they like your post, tag them in the comments. Hey, Carlos, thank you so much for liking this post. If they share it, same thing. Because what's going to happen is Facebook now is going to see that there's a lot of engagement on this post, so they're going to think, again, when I talk about Facebook, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about computer algorithm. It's a computer. It's not a person. So you have to find a way to outsmart the AI within Facebook. And I'm telling you guys directly how to do it. Make sure your posts have a lot of engagement on them. Now, type of post that Facebook does not like. First of all, it's overly promotional. What do I mean by overly promotional? If you're using Facebook to sell, here's what Facebook is going to do. They are going to cancel your post, and they are not going to show it to people because they want you to spend money on ads. Next is clickbait or fake news. So clickbait or fake news is defined as you post something on your wall to get people to go over to your website, and you create all this excitement, such as, visit our website today, or click on the link below in order to see our CEO, swimming naked in a pool, something like that gets people's attention. Facebook is going to go ahead and they're going to cancel those posts and they're not going to show it. Next is linking out to your website or third-party video. And this is real important now because what do most businesses and people use social media, and this isn't just Facebook now, this is all social media. What are people using social media for? To drive clicks back to their website, to drive people off of Facebook, off of Twitter. When that happens, any social network now is going to make sure that they don't show your post to a lot of people because the name of the game here is how do I keep people engaged within Facebook? How do I keep people engaged within Instagram? How do I keep them engaged within YouTube? The moment you start driving people away from these social networks, now you're not benefiting the social network. You're benefiting yourself. The last type of content that Facebook does not like is long-form text posts. Facebook is not a WordPress blog. It's not a Medium blog. It's not your website. It's Facebook. Think about how people are scrolling in their newsfeed on their iPhone or their Android. They're scrolling very quickly. They see about this much content in 1 or 2 sentences. The last is excessively tagging others. That's viewed as spam. So when you post content out, I get it. You want everyone out there to see that post. A lot of people make this mistake where they'll tag like everyone in their friends list. I think you can tag up to 100 people. Guess what? That's viewed as spam. If one person reports that post as being spam, if one person takes themselves and removes that tag, you know what Facebook does? They cancel your post. People aren't going to see it, so don't do it. Now, there's this saying in the United States that goes, you can't build a mansion on rented land. Think of what Facebook is today. It's a big empire, media empire, right? What is every person in their company trying to do? Build their own empire for free. This is like me walking into your place of business and saying, you know what? I want to go ahead and open up my offices for Gil Media right here in your office, and you say, I like you, Carlos, but you have to pay for that space. And that's the same thing that's happening today. You are not going to go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You're not going to go on any of these social networks, even though these social networks are free to join and they're free to post. You're not going to go on these social networks and grow your business without having to pay for it. That's just a reality because you're tapping into the data of these social networks. So when I say you can't build a mansion on rented land, none of us here in this room own any of the content or data on Facebook. None of us. As soon as you sign up, you waive all rights to the content that you post. You sign up, you provide all of your data, you are signing off on any rights that you have. Now, think about how do I reverse engineer social media today? You have to find a way that you can get your own data from social media. You see, again, it's a mindset shift of why you're using social media in the first place. Are you using it to sell? Chances are yes. We're all using it to sell. How are you using it to sell, though? Are you creating awareness for your company? Are you building a community? Are you identifying advocates? Are you leveraging your employees to tell your brand story? Are you using it for recruiting? If you're a conference like this, are you using it to sell more tickets? Everyone has an objective. Everyone has an end game. But how you get to that end game is why we're here today and why I want to help all of you. Because the mistake that most marketers are making is they're doing what I call shotgun marketing, where they're just blasting content out to see what works. They're blasting content out, hoping that maybe one or two posts pop off, and then all of a sudden, they get a hand clap by their CMO or their marketing executive saying, good job. And I'm going to be very blunt and very honest with all of you, because I work with CMOs. I've worked for some of the top CMOs in the world. CMOs, ladies and gentlemen, don't care about your social media metrics. They don't. I don't know one executive out there that now in the year almost 2020 is going to go to you and say, congratulations, because you got 100 likes on a Facebook post. Congratulations, you get a raise because you got more people to follow you on Instagram or on Twitter. That doesn't happen. Not anymore. What executives of companies want is they want to see actual business results. So if your objective is, how do I get more customers? You have to get their data. You have to get their email. You have to get their phone number. And honestly, you have to work within the confines of Facebook, of these social networks. Now, let's talk about how the algorithm works. First, content from friends, family, and groups are prioritized as of 2008. So what that means is that if you run a business page, your business page content is not going to be prioritized over someone's personal profile content. Next, Facebook is a business and they want your advertising budget. I can tell you this for a fact, having worked at LinkedIn. All of these social networks to you and I are social networks. To all these companies in the back end, they are businesses, they're digital online advertising businesses who are in business to collect ad dollars from brands in order to leverage the data, which is all of us, the users, and then serve up ads to those users. Next, engagement bait posts are penalized. So if you ever put a post that says, like this post, comment on this post, click below to visit our website, and you ask yourself, well, why didn't people see this? We have 100,000 likes and only 1,000 people saw it. Well, it goes back to what I said before. Only 1% of your community is seeing your content. 1. 2, Facebook is penalizing brands that are putting these call to actions in their posts. The last bullet point here is Facebook content is similar to word of mouth marketing. What do I mean by that? We have here in this room, what, a couple hundred, 300 people. So if I go to one person and tell them something really exciting, and then they tell the next person, and then that next person, they tell a group of their friends, and then that group of their friends tells their group of their friends, all of a sudden, that's word of mouth marketing. That's the virality factor of how Facebook works. So if I put a post out as my business, and half of this room likes it, what Facebook is going to do now is they're going to serve to all of your friends and your network that piece of content in their newsfeed. And it's going to say your name, like this post. Why is that? Because now Facebook perceives that content to be more important than everything else. Now, the last bullet point here is Facebook will prioritize content that keeps users on Facebook. So it goes back to what I said before. If you're linking people away from Facebook to send them back to your website, Facebook is going to go ahead and penalize your content because what they want is for people to stay on Facebook as opposed to leave. Now, who's seen Castaway before with Tom Hanks? This is one of my favorite movies. This is going to get kind of weird now because I'm a big Tom Hanks fan. So I'm going to share with you guys a couple of examples of how Tom Hanks and marketing today are related. So there's this movie called Castaway, for those of you that haven't seen it. And in the movie, Tom Hanks, he's in an airplane accident. Long story short, he's stranded on this island, far away. That's the giant ocean where your brand is right now. And Tom Hanks, throughout the movie, creates these SOS signals. So any plane flying over can see him writing help, and they can go extract him. And guess what? Tom Hanks lives on this island for years. No one finds him. That's your brand content today. You are Tom Hanks in Castaway sending SOS signals. Yeah. You're in a giant ocean. You're posting content. Your fabulous content, your contenido that people hopefully are seeing. They're not. And guess what? You go in every day. You work with your agencies. You put out this content. No one sees it. So why are you doing it? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. Again, Tom Hanks, I tell you guys, I'm a really big fan of him. He's in this other movie called Captain Phillips. He's on a boat. He's captain of his ship. And you have these pirates that take over the ship. Have any of you guys seen this movie? A lot of you? It's one of my favorites. And there's this line where one of the pirates comes on and says, "Look at me, I'm the captain." One of my favorite movie quotes, honestly, of all time. This is the equivalent of what I call digital pirates that are looking and seeing what you're posting online, and they've become what I like to refer to as digital savages. And what happens is your company out there is posting content, but you're not really paying attention to what your competitors are posting. But the smartest brands out there, the most successful brands, what they're doing is they're observing who's mentioning my competition, who's mentioning my industry, who's writing about my competition and not getting a response back. This happens every single day. And these are what are known as digital pirates, which are stealing your market share. And the greatest example I can give you is one of my favorite brands online today, which is Wendy's. The Wendy's, not sure if you guys have them here in Sao Paulo, is one of the biggest fast food chains in the United States, perhaps the world. They compete with the likes of McDonald's, Burger King, Arby's, on and on. Make sure you guys follow and pay attention to Wendy's social media content and how they respond to customers. Wendy's does what's called trolling of McDonald's followers, Burger King's followers. As you see here in this example, they say, "Big Mac, I don't feel so good." Big Mac being McDonald's product. And this is what I referred to before as showing the Tom Hanks example in Captain Phillips. This is an example of a digital pirate in Wendy's, taking brand content, flipping it around, and now owning the conversation. Now, the greatest competitive advantage that we all have in this room is the ability to listen. Whether you use social media to post one piece of content at all, social media operates as a great platform to listen to what's being said about your company, your competition, and your industry. However, not enough brands are focusing on this. And I'm going to share with you guys an example from a client that we work with in Western Union. I was just with them in Mexico City last week and shared this screenshot with them. So this person here in Las Vegas tweets out, "My Nana just asked me to send money via Western Union. I haven't been to one. Nana, there's this app called Venmo and also Zelle." So remember what I said before about digital pirates. This is a form of a customer that's mentioning Western Union, again, Western Union being my client, also mentioning two other competitors in Venmo and in Zelle. Western Union, Venmo, and Zelle are all tagged in this post. None of them responded until I was with the team, the community management team in Western Union last week, and I sat down and I pointed this out and said, "This is your opportunity right here." Again, think about what I said to you just a couple moments ago. Every brand out there is focusing on the outbound. They're focusing on putting out content. They're not focusing on listening to what's being said about their brand. They're not really thinking about, there's people out there right now that are mentioning us. You guys should try this exercise. Go on Instagram and look up hashtag and then put the name of your company. or put in hashtag and the industry that you work in. You can just run hashtag searches and you will see that people are talking about your company, your competition, and your industry without you even knowing about it. And these are missed opportunities that happen every single day. Now, there's this dating app called Tinder. And I often like to compare marketing to dating. It's very similar. When you think about it, when you're dating, you meet someone, they look good on the surface, then you get to know them, then you have maybe relations with them, and at that point, you really get to know them. So the same thing happens in marketing. Tinder and marketing, it's the same thing. There's people out there that are talking about you. There's people out there that are looking for you. There's people out there that need your services that don't even know that you exist yet. So if you're using social media to listen to what's being said, you will identify your matches. You see, the biggest mistake that companies are making today is they think that marketing is one-to-many, when in reality, it's one-to-one. If you're going to grow a multi-million-dollar business online, I guarantee you're not going to do it by posting one tweet and walking away. No. You're not going to do it by putting one really good-looking Instagram post and putting a little bit of ad budget and then walking away. You're going to grow a business one person at a time. So once again, using social media to listen to what's being said about your company, your industry, and your competition is how you're going to find your matches one at a time. Now let's talk about bots. I'm going to be very direct with you guys. I have a love-hate relationship with bots. And the reason why I have a love-hate relationship with bots is because bots can speed up and optimize a lot of processes that often would take a community manager or a person to do. But bots also are going to eliminate potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs in social media marketing because of what I just said. Being able to optimize what a human can do. So first of all, why are companies using bots today? And why should companies think about using bots? And the first bullet point is what I just alluded to. They can automate what it takes a human time to do. So if I run a brand, and let's just say it's Starbucks, and Starbucks every single day gets 5,000 inbound messages of people mentioning at Starbucks, and I have a 5 to 6 person community management team, chances are in one day I cannot reach 5,000 people. And then the next day, another 5,000 messages come in. And the next day, another 5,000 messages come in. Over a course of a week, that's potentially 30,000 messages mentioning the Starbucks brand, because when you think about it, everyone's out posting pictures of their latte and their coffee that has their name written on it. You can't reach that many people. It's just impossible. Even people that aren't mentioning Starbucks, just people out there mentioning coffee, people out there mentioning the competition, you can't get to them. Impossible. But yet if you put a bot, now start crawling Instagram, and every single time someone mentions Starbucks, every single time someone mentions coffee, every single time someone visits a surrounding location, if you can have a bot automatically just like, you don't even have to comment, just like a post, guess what? That now has replaced what normally a community manager would have done. It can also speed up response times and identify and engage potential clients. Now, there's a few ways that you can build bots without spending a lot of money. The first are 2 platforms called ManyChat and ChatFuel. The third is actually creating a bot on Facebook through Messenger itself. But before you create a bot, you really need to identify, what do you want your bot to do? Do you want to auto-reply? Do you want to auto-engage? What's the purpose of your bot? Then you're going to go through, you're going to go to a platform like ChatFuel or ManyChat, and you're going to create this flow, as you see here. And this is what's known as a flow chart. So for the first time someone clicks send message on your Facebook page, what are you going to have them do? What are you going to have your bot say? Here are just a couple of examples. My recommendation to all of you is play around with bots that can just provide an auto-reply message when you're away. Because the worst thing that happens for consumers today is they go to a Facebook page, they click send message, they have an issue or a complaint, and then they never get a response back. I was recently working with a client, I won't say who, but they told me that per day, they get between 80 to 100 messages on Facebook, and those 80 to 100 messages typically go unanswered and unresponded to until they can get around to it. That's really bad. So again, think about setting up a bot from the standpoint of being able to hit your customers back with an auto-reply message, at least saying, hey, we're away right now, we hear you, but we'll respond to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. Now here's what a bot cannot do yet. First of all, it cannot replace human-to-human interaction. Because let's face it, talking to a computer, talking to a bot is a lot different than speaking to a person. One, it cannot crawl social media yet to identify everyone that has a need and engage with them. And then three, it cannot tell real-time stories. We're going to talk about storytelling here in a moment and the importance of storytelling. Now, I'm going to share with you guys an example that I had with a bot, and hopefully this video plays. So a few months ago, I was scheduled to go to Copenhagen, Denmark, to do a keynote just like this to a group in Denmark. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be speaking about chatbots. Let me go through this experience myself of booking a hotel with Marriott's chatbot. Because A, I'm a big Marriott fan. B, if I want to be talking about chatbots, I want to be able to show the experience. So I literally hooked up my phone to my computer, and in real time, like this is literally me doing this in real time, I went through the experience of going to Marriott and saying to Marriott, I'm looking for a hotel room in Copenhagen. So here's what happens. Chatbot pops up, there's an automated message. I tell them I'm looking for a hotel in Copenhagen. This other message pops up, it says find a hotel. So I type in find a hotel. Now it says in order to help, I need to know where you're going and when. So I'm putting in Copenhagen, I put in my dates, and you see what happens here. All right, I put in the city, I put in the dates, got it. Where are you going? For example, New York City. So now I'm thinking like, okay, this is a little funky because I keep getting the same message over and over again. So now I put in business, thanks. I need to know where you're going. So I say Copenhagen again. Great, where are you traveling to? Now I'm getting frustrated. Now I'm getting annoyed, in full disclosure. So I'm saying Denmark. And what's the message I get back? Sorry, there's no hotels available. Okay. First of all, this took what, about a minute and a half? And I was upset. It was a very bad experience. I could have gone to Marriott.com and probably rented a room within the same amount of time. So here's what happens, folks. I now have a bad experience with Marriott. What do? I immediately go to Airbnb. I'd never stayed at an Airbnb before, and I rented an Airbnb. I had an amazing experience with Airbnb. And now I stay at Airbnbs wherever I travel. So that's a real scenario of how Marriott lost a customer through a bad user experience using a chatbot. Now, let me tell you guys what happened before I go into Instagram versus Snapchat. I'm in Copenhagen already. So like maybe 3 or 4 days went by. And I'm in Copenhagen, and I get a message from Marriott saying, from an actual real person at that point, saying, hey, I'm so sorry that we saw this. How can we help you? And I'm thinking, really? Like 4 or 5 days have gone by, and now you're messaging me when I'm already in Copenhagen? Well, guess what? You can't. And you lost a customer as a result. Now, moving on from bots, let's talk about storytelling. How many of you in this room go on Instagram to see Instagram stories? A lot of you. Snapchat at all? Few snappers? Okay. So here's what's going on. There's this battle between Snapchat and Instagram because stories today are the new news feed. That little circle with people's name above it at the very top, that's become the new news feed. People want to be engaged with very short real-time stories. So I get this question all the time from brands. Carlos, should I be on Instagram or should I be on Snapchat? My answer to them is always, you should be on the social networks where your customers are. Wherever your customers have a presence is where you should be. However, I do strongly recommend that you transition away from posting long, drawn-out content and just post photos and move over to the stories format. I'm going to share with you guys why brand storytelling is relevant. First of all, people trust people. If they can see you, if they can hear you, if they can know that you're a real person, you've already won. People don't relate to logos. People don't relate to products. People buy products, they buy services. But if you post if you're Nike and you post a pair of sneakers and say these sneakers are on sale, go to our website, so what? People don't relate to that. But if they see an influencer, if they see a customer that looks like them, that sounds like them, someone that they relate to, someone that they already follow, that's the value of storytelling too, is content is short and easy to consume on a mobile device. Let's face it, most of us today, we're on the run, we're in the go. We're in an Uber, we're in a taxi, we're at our offices, we're on a break. We're consuming content as we go through our day, but that content needs to be short. It needs to be easy to consume, which is, again, where I love stories. Because you can just pull out your phone, you can create that content on the fly, on the go. The next is we perceive a face to be authentic versus seeing content from a logo. The reason why none of you raised your hands when I asked you before who woke up this morning to see what your favorite brand posted, none of you did, is because when you see content posted on Facebook, It's coming from a logo on the left-hand side of your screen, and it says the brand name. That's why. I guarantee you, if Coca-Cola had a human being with a red shirt that says Coca-Cola on it, promoting Coke products, and that person's your friend as opposed to a page that you like, I guarantee you, at least once a week, you'll stop and see what they post. But you're not seeing it today because you're seeing that content coming from a logo and not from a person. So, storytelling. People are following the Kardashians. They're following celebrities like Kylie Jenner. Snapchat rolls out this new update that Kylie Jenner doesn't like. Kylie Jenner goes over to Twitter, mind you, to talk about her displeasure with Snapchat. Now, before I go to this next slide, about 5 minutes ago, I had this slide up that said, social media, the greatest opportunity that you have is the ability to listen. You have a huge celebrity in Kylie Jenner talking about Snapchat on Twitter. Do you think Snapchat went and responded to this tweet? No. Do you think they listened? They probably saw it, but they didn't engage. So here's what happened. The next day, in one day, Snapchat lost $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money because they did not listen to a mega celebrity. So 2 points I'm trying to make here. One, if you're going to be on social media, you need to go all in and you need to listen to what your advocates are saying, what's being said about your brand, especially when you have celebrities talking about your brand. Two, people today are paying more attention to what real human beings are saying as opposed to what brands are saying. Now, there's this very famous celebrity hip-hop artist named DJ Khaled. Do you guys here in Brazil know who DJ Khaled is? Very famous. DJ Khaled is one of the most watched people on social media today. Very similar to a Kardashian. And the reason why DJ Khaled is one of the most watched people on social media today is because he's real. He wakes up in the morning, he shows you what he's having for breakfast, what he's doing midday, who he's meeting with, what he's doing, and then he wraps up at the end of the day with his story. And then the next day, that story continues on and on and on and on and on. So my advice to every brand out there is to be more like DJ Khaled, be more like the Kardashians, and be less like a brand. Now, the reality is that at your own company and organization, you're not a Kardashian. You're not DJ Khaled. But you might be the local butcher or the local restaurant in your neighborhood that people identify and associate with. You might be someone in your own community that people know and can identify and relate with. So it goes back to being real, which is something that's been lost today in marketing. Storytelling, my friends, gives you the opportunity to make real human connections. So as I look to wrap up, I'm going to give you guys 10 steps to telling the perfect story. And the first is pick your platform. For storytelling, it's either Snapchat or Instagram. My recommendation to all of you, being that I saw very little hands go up for Snapchat, is that in this market, Instagram is where it's at. And Instagram is what people are using to consume and to create storytelling content. And just so you guys know, Instagram has over 1 billion daily active users worldwide, and that's continuing to grow and skyrocket. The next is, what's your objective? What are you looking to use stories for? Is it to sell more product? Is it for customer service? Is it to recruit? What's your objective? The third is identify your storyteller. And this is something that brands struggle with. Because let's face it, if you give a cell phone to most marketing professionals and say, here, create a story, most of them aren't going to know what to do. So what do brand marketers then do? Is they go and they hire influencers to tell stories for them. Just fine. But influencers don't work for your company. Influencers most likely are not buying from your brand. There are people that you're renting as talent for a day or two to promote your brand. Great. But really look within your organization. Who works for your company? That's someone that enjoys working for your company. They get social media. They can tell the brand story from an employee's perspective. Is it your CEO? Is it your head of marketing? Is it your community management team? Last is customers. So again, I'm going to touch on the same thing I said earlier. The greatest opportunity that social media gives you is the ability to listen. Listen, pay attention to who's talking about your brand already. You can go on Twitter and you can type in your company name. You can go on Instagram, you can type in your company name in the form of a hashtag, and you can see who's already speaking about your brand. Engage these folks. Ask them if they want to take over your Instagram account. The next step is storyboard your content with a beginning, middle, and end. So what I mean by this is before you actually do a story, let's just say that you have a campaign that you're rolling out at your company, and you're going to tell a story around that campaign. You want to actually sit down with your internal marketing team. You want to sit down with your agency and really spell out from beginning, middle to end, this is what we're going to go ahead and convey. This is what people are going to see. And the next is keep your stories under 2 minutes. Ideally, keep your story between 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds. On Instagram, each piece of content that you post in stories goes up to 15 seconds. So if you do a minute worth of content, that's 4 posts. If you do a minute and a half, that's 6 posts. In 6 to 8 posts, you should really be able to convey what it is that you want people to see. So once again, one of my favorite brands is Nike. If Nike's rolling out a new pair of sneakers, have an influencer or have an employee or have an advocate for your company take over your Instagram account and actually show, hey, I'm going to go ahead and show you the new LeBron James sneakers. This is what they look like. I'm going to put them on. I'm going to go shoot some basketball, on the court. I'm going to show you how I run and jump faster. And at the very end, let your community know if you want to buy these sneakers, go to Nike.com. The next, create excitement on other social media channels. So here's where I see a lot of brands mess up. They have an influencer take over their Instagram account, and no one knows about it. So just because you have a presence on Instagram or on Snapchat doesn't mean that your other social networks go away. In fact, now you have to double down and you have to let your community know that we're on Instagram, we're on Snapchat. If you have an email list, make sure that you send an email out and let your email subscribers know that you are doing an Instagram story takeover, or to follow you and add you on Instagram for daily updates. So really create this excitement. Next is ask your community to share with a friend. A lot of brands are going for the quick sale. A lot of brands are going for the, hey, click here to go ahead and learn more about our company. But they're not really engaging their community. Most brands do a very, very poor job at engaging their own community. If someone's already liked your page, why do you keep thinking about, I need to get more of these? Instead, engage the people that are showing up every single day to like your content. Again, most marketers mess up by thinking that marketing today is one to many, when in fact it's one to one. So we've got 4 panels right here in this room. If I were to just take all the people right here in front of me, which is probably about 50 or so, and I were to make these 50 people my brand advocates, meaning every single time I post on social media, starting with him and her all the way through the back, all of them are going to share my content. I don't need everyone else and their mother to show up on social media. I could just focus on them. These are what's called advocates. But people aren't focusing on the advocates. They're focusing on the giant C, and that's why they're still stranded sending out those SOS signals. You get how that works? Engage your community. One of the last posts here, one of the last points is, if you're on Instagram, at the very end of your story is when you want to drop the call to action, meaning don't go for the sale right away. If you're trying to promote a sale at your company, if you're trying to sell anything, wait for the very end of your story. Because what's going to happen is if you try to right hook your audience at the very beginning, they're going to say, oh, why do I want to watch the rest of this? They're just trying to sell me something. So wait for the very end. Next is, and this is a principle of storytelling. There's 3 primary reasons, 3, why people are going on social media today. It's to teach, entertain, or inspire. Or in this case, to be taught, to be entertained, or be inspired. So you need to fall into one of these categories. Most brands today are not Nike, they're not Starbucks, they're not a sexy brand. So not every brand out there can entertain, but you know what? You can teach. If you sell insurance, you can teach people why they need insurance. You can inspire them why they need insurance. There's many ways that you can inspire people. There's many ways that you can teach them about your goods, products, and services. The last point, my friends, is wait for the end for the call to action. Because once again, you try to sell people early on, they're going to go ahead and probably drop off because they're going to perceive your brand as just being about sales and not being about the relationship. So I'm going to leave you guys with this key point right here. It's from the great Walt Disney, perhaps the greatest storyteller ever known, one that didn't even get to live in the age of social media. And Walt Disney said, do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends. So what I mean by this, folks, is however you're using social media today, whichever medium it is, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, take your pick, your objective needs to be, how do I focus on these people, which are the ones that are engaging, they are commenting, how do I create more of them? And the way that you create more of them is by, again, focusing not on one-to-many, focus on one-to-one, turn those advocates, turn those 50 advocates into 100, 100,000. And if you do that really well, I guarantee you, you will have mastered social media marketing. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Sao Paulo, for bringing me here today.
Hi, Carlos.
Thank you.
Carlos.
I just want to say I have my email address here on the screen. Feel free to send me an email. I don't know if we have time for any questions. I think we might be at time, but I can stick around and either answer questions here on stage or meet with you in the back of the room. So once again,
thank you, Carlos. Firstly, I would like to say thank you, Carlos, for your presentation. We are very happy to have you with us today. So you have a kind of agreement here that is much better. People make the question in Portuguese and the professional is going to make the translation, okay?
Excellent. So I just put this on right here.
Alguém tem pergunta, pessoal? Here?
Or do you want to translate it? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Have you ever analyzed LinkedIn? How do you see LinkedIn as a social media?
So LinkedIn's interesting because LinkedIn is one of the most valuable, I'm going to just put this right here, guys. LinkedIn is one of the most valuable social networks that exists, but it's more valuable for B2B than it is B2C. So LinkedIn is a business social network. You have the opportunity to connect and engage with over 500 professionals around the world. So if you're sitting here right now thinking, how am I going to sell to more people? You're not going to do that on Facebook. You're not going to do it on Twitter. You're going to do it on LinkedIn. And it's a matter of two things. One, use a directory on LinkedIn as a business directory. So what is it that you do? You do shipping. Who are your clients? Like the type of people that you're selling to? Is it procurement? So if you're looking for heads of procurement, directors of procurement, what you're going to do is you're going to go on LinkedIn. We're good. Yeah. So if you're looking for people who are looking to buy your services, you're going to go on LinkedIn. You're going to go to the directory and run a search for job title. So you're going to type in procurement, perhaps the type of company that you're looking to sell to. So I often say to people, to get the most out of LinkedIn, have a hit list of companies that you're looking to sell to. So like you yourself know who your prospects are and look them up and then invite them to connect. Also look up that customer. Now you've identified who they are. Look them up to see if they're on Facebook. Look them up to see if they're on Twitter. Most networking does not happen on LinkedIn. It happens on Twitter or it happens on Facebook. The second thing is create content around your company's services. So what happens is if I connect with you and I'm your target client and we connect and now you're creating content around your company, I'm going to see that content potentially in my newsfeed. Or it's also content that now you can share with me and vice versa. So I'd say use LinkedIn from a standpoint of what I like to call digital stocking, okay?
That the concepts you presented regarding Facebook are applied to LinkedIn as also?
They're applied to all of them. Okay. So all these social networks operate very similar. The more traffic that you keep on these social networks, the more they're going to show your posts. I'll give you an example. I put a video about 2 days ago on LinkedIn asking people, should you hire... So I do a show with NASDAQ in New York, and I had 2 CMOs I interviewed. And I asked those CMOs, should you hire employees for experience or for potential? Which is, again, it's a question that incites a lot of conversation. That post on LinkedIn has gotten over 6,000 views organically in 2 days. The same post has only gotten about 1,000 on Facebook. It's gotten less than 100 on Twitter because the subject matter aligns more for a professional audience. And it's something that the more people comment, the more people share, the more people like. And as that happens, now LinkedIn is sharing this video to more people in my network and also the networks of others as well. So my advice to all of you would be if you really want to get the most out of LinkedIn, keep creating content. Keep creating a lot of content around your industry, but also make sure you're connecting directly with who your target buyer is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Carlos, I guess that there is another one here.
Yes.
We have a short time, but I think it's...
Yeah, let's do it. Was this helpful, guys? Excellent.
Yes. I just want to know your view on an approach to social media, because the other day I was reading an article that said that social media is great to create intangible value. So having companies are rethinking having influencers to their brands, to their products, and so on, because whereas it's great to create branding, a brand and brand communities, it doesn't really convert to sales.
Yep.
So it's it creates long-term value because it creates a brand perception, brand communities, but it doesn't really convert to sales. So
I agree.
it's hard to measure the return on your investment on social
I agree.
media.
I'm going to be very honest with all of you, and I own an agency. I work with brands. I work with influencers. I'm not a fan of influencer marketing. And people hire me to be an influencer also. I'm just not a fan of it. And the reason why I'm not a fan of it is because I think influencer marketing, there's two things. One, a lot of influencers are buying their followers. A lot of influencers are buying their engagement. Sorry to any influencers out there that are watching this potentially, but it's true. So if I'm going to go ahead now and spend thousands of dollars to hire an influencer, and the only people that are going to see that content are people that are bots or people that don't necessarily care about my brand, to your point, influencer marketing has zero value whatsoever. I think brands should be creating their own influencers, quite frankly. And what I mean about creating your own influencers is you have people within your company and your organization that are what's known as micro-influencers. Within their own circles, people follow them. People engage with them. And what better influencer than the one that you're paying a paycheck to every couple of weeks, right? So I'm with you. I think influencer marketing has been greatly inflated. I think there's marginal ROI. I won't mention the brand, but DJ Khaled was in my presentation. I know a brand that directly worked with DJ Khaled. It was like a $150,000 activation, and I want to say they only got like 700 new subscribers as a result of working with him, which I thought was very low. So when you break down how much each new subscriber costs based on that $150,000 spend, it's a lot of money that you're paying DJ Khaled. I think that influencer marketing, you have to look at it from also the standpoint of renting people to create content for you, right? Not using them for their audience, but using them for their ability to storytell, to draw, their personality. And I think once you start working with influencers in that regard, now you can charge them less or pay them less, because now you're not paying them for their audience. You're paying them for their talent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but my question was more broad, also regarding influencers within the company, because I feel like people are in social media not to buy, so they're there for the content. So maybe, in essence, social media, it's not meant to sell immediately, but it's more meant to create intangible value.
Yeah.
Or do you think the influencers within the company will convert to sales more efficiently?
Yeah, so what we're really talking about is we're talking not so much about influencer marketing as we are employee advocacy. So I just want to say this, every single person's influential. If I take everyone in this room, you're all influential within your own communities and within your own circles, social media as well as offline. And with that being said, I think the job of a marketing department is how to take the silos of every organization, how to take your HR team, how to take your sales team, how to take your marketing team, how to take your procurement, IT, so forth, and how to make social media marketing relevant to them. So through employee advocacy, what you do is you provide each one of these silos with content that's easy for them to share. So if I'm working with an HR department and I want to help that HR department recruit more professional talent, what am I going to do? I'm going to produce quality videos featuring testimonials of employees, featuring content about our company, and then I'm going to share with our HR team how to take that content, put it on Twitter, how to put it on LinkedIn, because these are mediums where people are following recruiters. Now, the flip side to that is if I'm working with a sales team, and that sales team is trying to generate more money for the organization, they need to get leads. So I need to empower them as a head of social. I need to now empower that sales team with the same thing, with content that explains what our company does, our services, and our benefits, that now they can share it out. So again, it's taking the model of influencer marketing, but putting a spin of employee advocacy on it. Making the employees the influencers, making the employees the advocates that now tell the brand story. But it starts with content. And that's the challenge that every marketing manager has. Where do we get content from? Do we pay an influencer to do it? Do we pay a company to produce it? I say at the end of the day, you use this. You use your phone. What does your company do? What services do you guys provide? Yeah. What is it?
Consulting.
Consulting, what type of consulting?
Marketing, pricing.
Marketing and pricing?
Sales.
So for example, content that you create should be intended to teach. Remember I said before, teach, entertain, inspire? Your content should be some that's teaching your intended customer of what your services are. And if you do that over and over and over again, you're going to strike a chord with a potential CMO that's looking to buy your services, or with a buyer out there that keeps seeing your content over and over and says, like, all right, we need help in this area. Maybe we should hire this agency. Any other questions?
Carlos, Thank you. Once again, congratulations for your speech.
Thank you.
Legal. Carlos Gil.
Thank you. I appreciate that.